Shalom and Chag Sameach, everybody. I wanted to have a special class about Hallel and Yom Ha'atzma'ut, as is our custom, with the full Hallel with a bracha. For some very strange reason, in my opinion, for the last 30 years or so, every single yeshiva that has some kind of publication, one of the students writes an article about should we or shouldn't we say Hallel on Yom Ha'atzma'ut, on Yom Yerushalayim, and I don't know why it became political. It has no, uh, in my opinion, has no political significance. It only has a national significance. Is this part of the redemption or not? And if it is, and if there was a miracle, then we have to say thank you to Hashem through the Hallel that was written by King David, etc. So actually, in the end of Masechet Psachim, in the last chapter, it talks about which verses were said by David, which verses were said by his parents, by Shmuel, by his brothers. Um, so just very interesting, um, and like I said, it has no need for political. I'll just maybe give one perfect example. Um, First of all, today, when people want to know which rabbi should be appointed as their rabbi, or even the state of Israel, one of the first questions they ask them is, do you have the authority of the state of Israel to say Hallel on Yom Ha'atzmaut, or do you not believe in that? And if you don't believe in it, then how can you be the chief rabbi of Israel? And in the same context, before Rav Shach was the Rosh Yeshiva in Ponivej, it was Rav Kahneman, and every year on Yom Ha'atzmaut, they raised the Israeli flag in the courtyard of Ponivej. So most people don't know this, and I wasn't born when he died. So anyway. So some say that even though we should thank Hashem on Yom Ha'atzma'ut, we should not say Hallel with a blessing. They mention 5 reasons. One, based on several Rishonim, the Chidah holds that Hallel is said with a blessing only when all of Israel experiences a miracle. And by the way, the Chidah, being a Sephardi, also follows the custom of Rambam that even on Rosh Chodesh, which was just earlier this week, we don't say the bracha because the bracha, according to Rambam, is ligmor Hallel, to complete the Hallel, and that you only say that when you say all of the paragraphs of the Hallel, and not just with the skipping that we do on Rosh Chodesh. And also, when we declare independence, only a minority of world Jewry lives in Eretz Israel. That's the first reason. Second reason, we should give thanks only for complete salvation, and our enemies are definitely still threatening us on all sides. Three, the spiritual state of the country's leaders and many of its citizens is not what we would have expected for a redemption process. Number four, it is proper to show deference to the opinion that holds that Hallel should be said only when a revealed miracle occurs, like the miracle of the menorah with the oil that was continued for 8 days, whilst the establishment of the state of Israel was a natural miracle. Not really sure how they can say that. There's so many stories from every single one of the wars of miracles that actually happened, and maybe the most famous one is called Koach Tzvika. It was one tank, and through the night, while they were waiting for backup, the commander directed the driver to drive in different directions and shot from all kinds of directions, and they thought that there was a whole battalion of tanks there, and so they survived the night with only one tank and confusing the enemy like that. So anyway, it is unclear whether the day of Thanksgiving should be set for the day that we declared independence, or the day of the war independence ended, or the day that the United Nations decided to establish their state, which was the 16th of Kislev, and known as Kaftet November. I found out actually historically that it was the 29th of November in New York, where the United Nations had the vote, but it was already November 30th in Israel. So it was Shabbos afternoon, but in Israel it was already Motzei Shabbos. Um, Anyway, because of all or some of these concerns, the Chief Rabbinate Council originally prescribed that one recite the Hallel without a blessing during the morning prayers of Yom Ha'atzma'ut. Over the course of the next 26 years, however, the state of Israel's situation improved dramatically, We were privileged to liberate Judea and Samaria in the Six-Day War, and we even came out of the Yom Kippur War with a great victory despite the adverse conditions at the beginning. More than 3 million Jews already lived in the land, 5 times the number that lived there at the state's inception. I'll comment about that in a second. Therefore, on the 25th of Nisan, 5734, the Chief Rabbinate's Council assembled once again at the initiative of the Ashkenazi Chief Rabbi Shlomo Goren to discuss the issue of Hallel and Yom Ha'atzma'ut, and they decided by majority vote that a strong case can be made in favor of saying the full Hallel with a blessing on Yom Ha'atzma'ut morning. On this basis, our Rosh Yeshiva, Rav Tzvi Yehuda Kohen Cook, the son of Rav Zatal, instructed the Merkaz Rav Yeshiva to recite Hallel with a blessing, and all of his students act accordingly. So I just wanted to add 2 things. One is that there were 600,000 Jews living in Israel when the state was declared, and Rav Tzuriel, who was Mashgiach in Sha'avim, told us that he found out from somebody high up in the ranks that in the Six-Day War there were 600,000 soldiers that participated, and so the number 600,000 is again and again part of the redemption, as it was the very first time when we came out of Egypt. So 48 it was men, women, and children. 67 it was only soldiers, men and women, and so Be'ezrat Hashem there will be some last chapter with 600,000 will be the revelation of this final redemption. The other thing is, we just mentioned Rav Goren. So Rav Goren, besides being first the first chief rabbi of the army, and then afterwards in the 70s he was chief rabbi of Israel, the Ashkenazi chief rabbi. Besides this, he also wrote a very interesting version of Nachem, which we say on Mincha afternoon on Tisha B'Av. So this is the regular one from the Siddur Ashkenaz. We're back to Nusach a little bit. So Nachem Adonai Eloheinu et Avelei Tzion et Avelei Yerushalayim, to console the mourners of Tzion and Yerushalayim. And the city is in mourning and in ruins. Okay, so the city itself is in ruins and despised and desolate. Mourning because she is bereft of her children, ruined of her dwellings, despised in contrast to her former glory, and desolate without inhabitants. She sits alone with her head covered like a barren woman, who never gave birth. Legions have devoured her. Idolaters have deprived her of her inheritance. They have put your people Israel to the sword and have wantonly murdered the pious ones of Most High. We're not denying that all of these things happened. What Rav Goren was trying to mechadesh, to renew, and unfortunately, if somebody knows anybody in Wikipedia, we need to translate this to English, because there's no language at all, not even Yiddish or French. But let me try to show the differences. So it says, in the middle here, it says that you gave her, the people of Israel, inheritance. So dust, shake off the dust that is covering it, and wake it up from its state of mourning and depression. And be to her like a river of peace, and they will flow like a river and reveal the honor that the non-Jews are giving now to the people of Israel. Because you have set it on fire and you are going to build it into fire, like it says, and the ending is the same like in the Ashkenaz Siddur, Baruch Atah Hashem Menachem Tzion Uvanei Yerushalayim. So the main difference is saying that it's not that it was and it isn't anymore. It's just that have improved and redeemed, and so that's why he wrote it, and it's in the Siddur, what's called Nusach Achid of all the Israeli army. In every single base, there's like at least 100 of these Siddurim, and so if you're there for 3 years and the 3 Tisha B'Avs, you can get used to saying the new Nusach. But most schools do not change it, and as far as I know, the conservative and reform changed it even further. to not even talk about the past as much, but that's not for us. Anyway, stop here and